I'd like to call upon Dr. Mordecai Paldiel of Yad Vashem at this time.
Thank you and good evening. I'm sorry I'm in a bit of a rush because I have to catch a plane later on. But I promised Larry that I will appear and speak about Jewish rescuers. And I'll start by saying I've been working at Yad Vashem for 24 years. It's okay if I speak in English? You understand? I can speak in Hebrew. But I see that it began in English. For 24 years I work at Yad Vashem as head of the Department of Chasidei Olam, Righteous Gentiles. It's a fascinating subject about non-Jews who risk their lives to save Jews. And most of them, I'm glad to say, are not of the type represented here by Aaron Apfelfeld. There are quite many of them are law-abiding and honest and morally upright people who flouted the law in order to save. And there's a debate about the motivations. We also have some of them who are not so honest, a little bit dishonest. The best example is Oskar Schindler, who doesn't have such a good reputation. But anyway, I discovered in my many years at work since 1982 that for many of the righteous Gentiles, there's always there is a Jewish person also who helps him. And that Jewish person is forgotten. A Jewish rescuer. We have a very famous rescuer in Holland called Arnold Douwes, saved many Jews. He had a Jewish partner, Nico Leons. Joop Westerwil. He had Menachem Pinkhoff and Shushu. And so forth down the line. I just want to read off a few that I remember from my memory. Sugihara, the Japanese ambassador in Kovno. You have Rabbi Wahrhaftig, who sat with him and planned the escape of thousands of Jews. Aristides de Souza Mendes, the other diplomat. We have Rabbi Chaim Kruger with him. Karl Lutz, very famous in Budapest. You have Moshe Kraus, who worked together with him in the visas and the Schutzpass. André Trocmé of Chambon-sur-Lignon, famous town in France, sheltered many Jews. You have Joseph Bass and a whole host of Jewish people who worked together with him. Jean Defoe, the mayor of Annemasse, who saved Jews. We have the story of Marianne Cohen, who took Jewish children across the border with the help of Jean Defoe. And I can go down the list of names of people, of Jewish people, who worked side by side with non-Jews, and the non-Jewish rescuers were honored. I brought here a quote from one of the Chasidei Olam, Marion Pritchett from Holland. She saved many Jewish people, and she recently wrote the following: not recognizing the moral courage, the heroism of the Jewish rescuers, who, if caught, were at much higher risk of the most punitive measures than the Gentiles, is a distortion of history. It also contributes to the widespread fallacious impression that the Jews were cowards who allowed themselves to be led like lambs to slaughter. Nothing is further from the truth. So I can go down and just read off a few names. Some of them you may have heard. The Jewish Defense Committee in Belgium that saved thousands of Jews. Names like Yvonne Jospa, Fela Perlman, Ida Sterno. In France, a host of Jewish organizations who work together with non-Jews, rescuers, and saved. Georges Langer, Jacques Salon, Elisabeth Hirsch, Vivette Samuel, Nicole Veil Salon, Huguette Val, Marianne Cohen, Mila Racine, Georges Garel, David Rappaport. I mentioned already Joseph Bass, Denis Sikierski, Musa Abadi. Even in Poland, you have Tuva Bielski, that's in Bielorussia. In Czechoslovakia or Slovakia, you have the stories of Gizi Fleischmann, Dov Weissmann, who negotiated with SS chief Dieter Wislicheny, the famous Europa plan. and so forth. Now, the question is, how come we don't talk about these people? What is the problem here? Why we don't mention Jews who rescued Jews? I'm not talking about one Jew who rescued his fellow Jew. I'm talking about Jewish people who created rescue networks. They saved hundreds, they saved many people. Why our own heroes are not mentioned? And it's a mystery. But I'm doing recently some research on the side, how the program of Yad Vashem was born. The initiator of Yad Vashem was a man by the name of Mordecai Shenhabi. Mordecai Shenhabi was born in the Ukraine, and he was one of the founders of the Shomer HaTzair. And in 1942, as a member of the Kibbutz Beit Alpha, he brought up the idea of Yad Vashem, a memorial for the Jews that were being killed. This is September 1942 when he came with the idea. And Mordechai Shenhabi wrote about the Chasidei Umot Olam, that this Yad Vashem should include a program for honoring Gentiles who saved Jews. And the Yad Vashem which was to be created, this is 1942, should also concentrate on Jews who fought against the Nazis, the partisans, and later on when the Warsaw Ghetto became known. So when Yad Vashem was established in 1953, it had already a mindset. The victims, the death, and the heroes. The heroes are two types. The Gentiles are those who saved, and the Jews are those who fought. It was a fascinating discovery to me. And that's how it came into the Yad Vashem law, and that's how the program was born, and this is how we worked there, and we missed out completely on Jews who saved Jews. Because the mindset at that time was, there's a mental block, that a Jew in the Holocaust is a person who took a gun and fought, which is honorable. But Jews who saved Jews, this is something which was overlooked. And then I asked myself, well, why is it still being overlooked? Why Jews who saved Jews? Why a person like Musa Abadi, who was a Syrian Jew living in Nice, France, who saved 527 children by himself, together with the Bishop of Nice? Why are such persons overlooked? I don't know what the answer is, my friends, but I think it's because these people reflect badly on the Jewish leadership at the time. The Jewish leadership at the time was totally ineffective. There's still a debate of what they could have done and why they didn't do it, and maybe they should have tried. But at the time they woke up to the immense tragedy, it was too late already. It was 1945. And they didn't do the leadership then, Weizmann and Stefan Weiss and all kinds of excuses why they didn't do. But if Jewish leadership was ineffective, then to point out people, Jewish people, within Nazi-occupied Europe that did great things, that would have reflected again even more badly on the Jewish leadership. So it was best to say that we couldn't do anything. We were totally helpless because we didn't have a state at the time. I think that's the reason why this is still today presents a problem of dealing with Jews who save Jews. We, in Israel, we are the only country which searches out heroes from other countries. But our own heroes, if they didn't fight and blow up a train and things like that, then we don't mention them. And that is a paradox. I hope that with your help, or with people like you, we will be able to create role models of Jews who didn't go like lamb to the slaughter, but who created vast rescue networks and saved, I don't want to exaggerate, thousands of Jews, especially in France, in Belgium, to a lesser degree in Holland, but also in Poland. There were Jewish couriers who brought Jews from one place to another or took them out to Slovakia, Hungary. In Hungary, the Jewish underground, there's a whole thing there. I hope this will come to light so we can give our kids examples of Jews to be proud of, to follow in their footsteps. Let us not forget, right, how Judaism was born. Judaism was born because of Moses, Moshe. Moshe saved the Jewish people from Egypt, but he himself was saved by the princess of Egypt. She may be the first righteous Gentile. She found him on the Nile. There was a death penalty against Jewish males, and she took him and brought him up in her father's house, in Pharaoh's house. Here is a Gentile rescuer, and then a Jewish rescuer, side by side. It's symptomatic. So I hope that we will be able to overcome what I consider a mental block of still viewing Jews in the Holocaust as people who fought militarily, the parachutists and the partisans, the ghetto fighters, and overlook Jews who took additional risks upon themselves in order to save. And the excuse that I hear that a Jew who helps the Jew was only doing his duty, that is so fallacious. The duty of everyone was to save himself. And a Jew who was in danger of being caught and still runs errands from one place to another to find sheltering places for fellow Jews, that is a great act of heroism and courage. So, excuse me if I have to leave you now, because I have to catch a plane. Thank you very much for this evening.